Yo, what is up everybody? Brad Ellis here, and today I'm here to give you just a quick review of Ninja Gaiden 4. Now before I dive into the review, I just want to give you guys some context about my experience with the Ninja Gaiden series, just so you have a little more perspective of where I'm coming from here. So I grew up playing NES like many of you boomers out there, and I loved the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on the NES. I used to play it a lot, and man, those games kicked my ass. Flash forward to when the Xbox came out and Ninja Gaiden was rebooted there. I was all about it. I didn't have an Xbox, but I absolutely borrowed my friends to play that game, and I was in love with the new direction. So good. When Ninja Gaiden 2 came out on 360, I was there day one, loved it. 3 came out, I played a little bit of it. The base version, I wasn't a huge fan, so I never finished it. And I know Razor's Edge came out eventually, the newer version of that, but I never played it, so I don't know how that is. Anyways, flash forward to now, and Ninja Gaiden is back. It has been too long, and thanks to Microsoft, Platinum Games, and of course Team Ninja, we got Ninja Gaiden 4. Platinum Games is the main developer here on this game, and just in case you don't know who they are, let me give you a few examples of things they've worked on in the past. We got Bayonetta 1 through 3, Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance, Nier Automata, and Babylon's Fall. You can ignore that one though. But I'm saying all this just to say they know action games. They've made some really great ones in the past here, and in my opinion, Ninja Gaiden 4 is no exception.
Hey there. Come on in.
All right, just for the story and setup, all that kind of stuff, this time around, Ryu Hayabusa takes a back seat. He is in the game, and he's still playable, but he is not the main character. This time, we play as Yakumo, a brand new character who is a part of the Raven clan, who are direct descendants of the Dark Dragon, an evil dragon that's been a villain in past Ninja Gaiden games. The game opens with Yakumo on a mission to kill the Dark Dragon Priestess to redeem the Raven clan. Once you meet up with the priestess though, named Sayori, plans change and you team up with her. And from here is where the game begins. Okay, so if you've played any Ninja Gaiden game, you know it's all about the combat here. And boy, does it shine in Ninja Gaiden 4. The combat is insanely fast and bloody. You got tight and precise controls and a great sense of impact when you're hitting dudes. Ton of depth to your repertoire with lots of room for player expression. Really fun weapons, and one of my favorite new mechanics in a game in a while, the Bloodbind Jutsu, which we'll get into in a bit. I forgot how much I loved the dismemberment mechanic also, where you could like chop off a dude's arm and instantly finish them off with a badass execution by pushing triangle. Like Ryu, Yakumo is a beast. He's crazy fast and crazy powerful. Really fun combos that you can execute with him. He's even got some classics that you would expect, like a Zuna drop and the Flying Swallow, so I'm really happy those are back. Yakumo has quite an impressive repertoire of weapons that he can access. For instance, the ones you start off with that are 2 cool katanas, and later on you get like this crazy fencing sword. Of course, you got your little throwy kunais as well. Yakumo does not have the ninjutsus like Ryu does, like the fire and wind and all that kind of stuff. Instead, he has Bloodbind ninjutsus, which in my opinion are way more fun. Okay, so how this works is, in combat you have a meter, and you could build up this meter by doing things like attacking enemies and I think taking damage, and you can hold L2 at any time. And what this does is it enhances your light and heavy attack greatly, not just damage wise, from a visual standpoint as well. For example, the 2 katanas you start off with as Yakumo transforms into this giant bloody greatsword that you can just swing around with a humongously long blade. It is rad. It also gives you access to some new moves in combat. The second weapon I had early on, which I was saying was like that thrusting kind of sword, it turns into a giant drill, and you can just sit there and drill dudes and watch the blood fly. It is so damn satisfying. Later on, you unlock, of course, in an action game, you unlock a devil trigger, and when Yakumo does this, if you enter the Bloodbind ninjutsu stance and you like hold down square, for example, it will execute a one-hit kill on most enemies. And boy, does it look rad. And what's really cool with this Devil Trigger form is when it's about to run out, you can activate it again by pushing in the 2 sticks, and Yakumo will execute like a really powerful attack that can just wipe out everyone around you.
Never had a chance.
Alright, aside from Yakumo, who is of course the main character, you get to play as the man, the myth, the legend, Ryu Hayabusa. And boy, does he feel powerful here. His arsenal is much more limited compared to Yakumo in terms of like weapons and stuff like that, but he does have some unique things to set him apart. Like he has his basic ninjutsus, like the fire you would expect, and his wind one you might have seen from old games. So I was really happy those returned. But yeah, he's super fun to play as. Of course, he's the GOAT, so I'm happy he's at least playable in the game. But yeah, there's a training room if you want to brush up on your skills. That's very in-depth, so if you're feeling a little unconfident, head in there, get in the lab. It's hard for me to describe the feeling I get from the combat. It's really one of those things I think you have to feel and try for yourself, but the combat in this game overall is incredibly tight and excellent. One of my favorite combat systems that I've experienced in a long time. You're gonna have a great time chopping dudes up here. I think the bosses are pretty fun overall. For example, the very first one is this really cool cyborg samurai that's really fun to fight. Later on, I fought this lady with an umbrella and she was starting to shoot him at me. I do wish there's a couple more bosses in the game. I did have fun fighting all the bosses that were here, but I think it could use a few more. Also, you fight some of the same ones again as Ryu, which is not a huge deal, but I wish he had more unique boss fights. While the combat is incredible in this game, and it is of course the main draw, I know, the levels in my opinion leave a lot to be desired. When I think back to past Ninja Gaiden games, level designs like 1 and 2 in particular, I really like the exploration elements they threw into the game, where you really get to know this space and incentivizes you to explore, to find things like keys and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that, and I can picture a lot of them in my mind still today. And 4 is kind of the exact opposite. 4 is very much like pedal to the metal, running at 100 miles per hour in a narrow progression. You know, maybe some people prefer that. They don't like the exploration in past games like I do. But I just think even if you have that focus, everything just kind of blends together here. I found myself kind of zoning out often when I'm running through these environments, and I'm thinking back to them and none of the layouts themselves really stand out to me. Of course, I remember the visual trappings and stuff like that, but I'm thinking of like actually moving from point A to point B, it all just becomes a jumbled mess to me. Of course, there are things here to keep it a little more exciting, like there's wall running, you got rail grinding like Ratchet and Clank, you got a grappling hook you can use occasionally to swing around, there's parts where you're gliding through the wind or surfing on the water, but the game revisits these so often, nothing felt special after a while. Like doing these felt very repetitive, doing the same kind of rail sliding, and here's the sign coming, you gotta slide down, or here's the things you gotta jump over, which is fine in small doses in my opinion, but they just do it way too often here. Now, there are occasional side paths for you to go to find things like chests or to take on other objectives, which we'll get to in a minute. But I just miss the older style of level design in the first 2 games, of really getting to know that space and it feeling way more intimate. Here, like I said, it just feels like you're running through it at 100 miles per hour and you're not even thinking about it. There are mission boards you could take on as well throughout the game that you can get to at your little checkpoints. And basically these kind of all boil down to mostly just killing stuff, which is fine, you know. Combat is the star of the show here, and it is great, but I kind of wish there was more variety to it. I think there was one where like I found an item off a dead guy, and I was like, okay, whatever. But there's nothing really interesting in these besides just killing dudes. I wish there was maybe something like, hey, here's a platforming challenge for an example. Something like that. So just something to switch it up. But these are worth doing regardless because you can get stuff like more money or extra charms you can add to your character to give you passive effects. So pick these up, do them if you can find them. One of the best reasons to explore them, in my opinion, for these levels are the purgatory areas you can find, which are just like these torii gates you go through, and these are pure combat challenges. What's cool about these also is you can wager your health to get increased rewards. Like, for example, it's like, hey, start with 10% less health here, but you're gonna get 10% more reward, 20% less health, but 20% more reward, something like that. I really love gambling stuff like that. That's so fun. Oh, just a quick shout out to the music also. Really heavy, some cool tracks in here that really help emphasize the violence of combat. Once you finish the game, there is some post-game stuff unlocked if you just can't get enough of that sweet, sweet combat. We got Chapter Select, where you can replay any chapter you want with ease. Purgatory Select, same thing with the Purgatory Gates. And we got Trials, where you can fight bosses again. Also, in any of these, you can pick between Ryu or Yakumo. So, for example, if you want to go through the mission, like an early mission that was a Yakumo mission, you can now do it as Ryu, which I think is really rad and adds some great replay value. There's going to be some DLC coming out next year for the game as well, called the Two Masters. I think they're adding stuff like new weapons and all that kind of stuff. So if you can't get enough of the game and you want more, that'll be there next year.
Get to the point.
All right, that's just a quick review of Ninja Gaiden 4. I'm really happy the series is back. I don't know if I would put this above 1 or 2. I don't think I would, but I think Ninja Gaiden 4 is a really great return for the series. And I think they can make it even better in the future with stuff like the level design. But damn, that combat is good. So, I hope we get more. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think about the game down below. I'm curious how the Ninja Gaiden fans will feel about it, and newcomers. All right, everybody, until next time, see ya!